What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own fantasy football huddle, presented by Danklyfe clothing brand, and yours truly, as always, Dallas Clark. I'm here again with yet another post midnight recording because not a damn thing is going to stop me from giving you the information that you need to get the leg up on those idiots in your fantasy football league. And today, it's already getting into the most important week of your fantasy football season. We're done with the preseason. Over the next 7 days is going to be the meat and potatoes of your fantasy football draft information and your fantasy football drafts as a whole. So I am going to be providing you with all the information you need and continuing that trend. We're talking about the worst possible picks, the most red flags that you could have in the first 5 rounds in your fantasy football draft this week. And I'm going to be talking about each pick round by round. So without further ado, before we get started, I'd like to ask you, if you like the content, smash that like button. And if you like the content as well, hit the subscriptions bar as well as the notifications bell so you always know when we got new content hitting the airwaves. And if you haven't yet, make sure to check us out on Spotify, where we have our new platform going on with nice and convenient audio-only versions of the show, just in case you don't have the time to watch the full episode here on the mothership over at YouTube. You can check it out on Spotify. Just make sure you hit us with a follow. But now that we got all the announcements out of the way, all the housekeeping out of the way, let's make sure to fill up our cups, roll something up, and get right into the worst possible picks you could be making in your fantasy football draft this week. So first off, we're going to be talking about players, and the reason that most of these players have these red flags is based on a few key factors. We're looking at upside, we're looking at consistency, we're looking at age, durability, and the overall depth chart of the team. So a shitty team will affect a player's score overall. Round one, it's hard to attack round one players because those are the ones that are supposed to be the ones coming with the least amount of risk and kind of the most surefire approaches going into that first round. But there's always one, maybe even 3 or 4 players that are going to not quite live up to the expectation of being a round one fantasy football player. And Puka Nacua from the Los Angeles Rams is going to be the pick in the first round with the most red flags, with the most risk that I just don't feel comfortable drafting this season. You're looking at Matt Stafford already dealing with health problems, and he's getting over the hill right now with his age. So there's a lot of questions going on in the quarterback room. You're also looking at a big part of the reason Puka had such an amazing year last year was Cooper Kupp's crazy injuries that he was just struggling with throughout the entire year last year. Cooper Kupp so far is healthy throughout this preseason, going into the regular season, which will significantly reduce the opportunity for Puka Nacua. I do still think that Puka finishes with inside the top 15 wide receivers, but as far as risk, we are trying to be risk adverse in our fantasy football drafts, and Puka Nacua just has way too many red flags for me to feel comfortable. I do feel comfortable, though, however, extending you an invite because I have a few spots left remaining in my fantasy football league for the THC Sports T-Shirt Showdown. It's going to be a $20 entry, 20-man league, or a $20 entry, 12-man league PPR format, and we're going to be giving all the top 3 performers a T-shirt from the show, as well as various winnings for the first three performers, top 3 performers, including but not limited to getting your money back for finishing just even at 3rd place. Moving on in to the second round and the worst pick that you can take in the second round, I'm going to be taking Davante Adams from the Las Vegas Raiders. He's over 30 years old. Volume could be good for Davante Adams this year. However, I'm not quite sold with the poor, at least questionable quarterback situation you have going on in Las Vegas, a poor offense all around, and increased competition. You have Brock Bowers on the roster, and some other new targets as well. I expect a similar level of decline that we saw last year. Nothing to make Davante Adams fall off the face of the earth or anything, but nothing around making him a second round pick. If you take him in the second round, you're going to be significantly disappointed in the output that you are receiving. I do not want to spend the capital that I have to on Davante Adams to acquire a wide receiver that's not happy, not able to produce, and in one of the worst offenses in the NFL. If you haven't seen my worst mistakes to make in your fantasy football drafts, there will be a link in the description below, and I talked about it in that video. Just taking the number one wide receiver from a shitty offense in the NFL does not make them a viable fantasy football option, and Davante Adams fits that beautifully. There's a decline in opportunity, a decline in production, and a decline in efficiency. Stay away from Davante Adams, but do not stay away from that like button or that subscriptions bar so that you always know when new content comes out, and you do not understand how much it helps for you guys to smash that like button. Drop down in the comments. Tell me your least favorite picks going in these first 5 rounds. Tell me how you're liking the show. Just like some of the previous comments that we've gotten a lot of love and a lot of support and a lot of increase in our subscribers throughout the last couple of months. But let's keep that going. And all I can do is thank you all for all the love and support that we've been getting. And I can continue to give you the worst picks that you can be making moving on between rounds 2 and 3 with Devon A-Chain. You're looking at Raheem Mostert still there. You're looking at all the weapons around him with Jalen Waddle, with Jonnu Smith, with Tyreek Hill. There's just too many mouths to feed in this offense. Now, he was record-breaking in his efficiency levels last year, but there is high risk taking Devon A-Chain in the second or the third round. You're looking at him not showing the ability to stay healthy thus far, and I do not trust the Miami Dolphins running back by committee or offense by committee as a whole. You're also looking at me being able to see the talent and the upside of Devon A-Chain, and I think Devon A-Chain, the writing is on the wall for him to continue a similar year that he had last year, but I would rather take a safer option in the third round than the high risk, medium reward Devon A-Chain. Moving on into the fourth round of your draft, I'm avoiding Nico Collins from the Houston Texans. You're looking at them having Tank Dell. You're looking at them having Stephon Diggs. You're looking at them having Dalton Schultz, adding Joe Mixon, then Dameon Pierce in the backfield as well. Similar a rule of recipe that we had for Devon A-Chain. There are too many mouths to feed. You're also looking at Nico Collins not able to stay consistent last year and the large amount of missed time that he had. Plus the addition of the new offseason targets that they added in this year. I think he's a very poor choice with the price that you're going to have to spend. Wrapping things up with the final pick that we're going to be talking about that I'm avoiding at all costs in my first 5 rounds, it's going to be James Conner from the Arizona Cardinals. You're looking at him being an aging back. They drafted Trey Benson they're not this season, but they do have Trey Benson behind James Conner, who I expect to eat into his production very heavily. You're also looking at the offense potentially going into a more pass-heavy approach with Kyler Murray being healthy and having the best wide receiver core that he's had in his career, plus Trey McBride being the second or third tight end in fantasy football drafts going on right now. The Cardinals offense is expected to be good, and I think James Conner is going to be a usable option in fantasy football. But for the price that I'm spending in the 5th round, I definitely want somebody that might be able to blow the hinges off of fantasy football, and James Conner is not going to be able to do that. You're looking at a top 60 pick with low upside, low usage, and the chances of disappointment by taking James Conner at this price are very high. That's going to be it for the worst picks you can make in your fantasy football drafts this week in the early rounds. We got a ton more content coming out for you over the next few days, so make sure you stay in line and in tune of the Fantasy Football Huddle as well as the Huddle Chat Sports, so you always know when new information is coming out. Big thing though, keep your chin up and your attitude all the way down, and I'm going to see you next time. Peace out.